reason for us to be worried about is the breaking down of the federal democracy that was envisioned at the time of independence when this nation was formed, and how all the systems of a federal democracy are being compromised and are being vitiated. The relationship between the state and the center is being polluted. And so I think that is what we should all be very concerned about in a state like Kerala, where the ill effects of that ill treatment. When we were young, the film industry had a very pet theme about the natural mother passing away and the father marrying again. And the stepmother used to be the villainess, and she would come into the house and ill-treat the children. And that used to be the sure shot formula for a hit film. It's good as a story, and it's good as a film, because in a film, tears earn the most money. When the heroine or the hero sheds tears, the film is definitely to be a hit. But in a country, that kind of a attitude and that kind of a treatment is unjust, and it should be criticized as strongly as possible. Unfortunately, in the past 11 years, the government at the center has sort of made it a prerequisite that unless the state elects a government of the BJP or of the BJP's coalition, what the Prime Minister very proudly calls as the double engine Sarkar, where the same party is in rule in the center as well as in the state. He openly says that if you have that kind of a government, a double engine government, then you will get most of the benefits that I can give to you. And in saying that, he is also issuing a threat that if you don't do that, don't expect anything. Now, the share of the exchequer is guaranteed by the constitution, not by the mercy of the party in power. And yet, for the past 11 years, that is what we are seeing in practice. And that is where Kerala is being made to suffer, or by not being given its fair share. And GST has made it even worse. And that is totally un-Gandhian. And Bapu had seen this kind of manipulative practice happening, and that's where he had said that I visualize the Indian economy to be one that grows from below to above, and all the wealth is created by the bottom layer of the society. In the democratic setup, he meant that the panchayats would be the creators of the wealth, and then they would supply the surplus to the state, and then the state would supply the surplus to the center. But from the time that GST has been introduced, what has happened is that neither the panchayat nor the state have a major part of the revenue, and the center holds all the revenue. And today we see that even the GST mechanism has been corrupted, where the distribution of collected GST is not automatically done. It is done on the whims and fancies of the Prime Minister or the government in power at the center. This leaves behind a very bad precedence, because it encourages future governments to behave in the similar manner. And when this becomes an acceptable trend, then we are in the danger of creating an autocracy under the guise of democracy. Because democracy is not just that we elect a government through majority. It is the entire system of governance that creates a democratic nation. Unfortunately, in the past 11 years, we see its erosion happening alarmingly in every institution possible. In the morning, I was talking about how education instills the acceptance of slavery in our minds, in our intellects. And that is being done in every aspect. The belief that government is our benefactor is a very dangerous belief in a democracy, because the government is only a medium to govern, not to rule. We used to have monarchies, we used to have kingdoms, and at that time it was fine to consider the ruler to be the benefactor, because we existed on their whims and fancies. Our fate was according to the whims and fancies of the kings and emperors. But when we chose democracy, we chose to abandon that system and give the power of governance into the hands of people. Unfortunately, in 78 years, we are seeing that that is slowly being removed from our hands, and we are being converted back to becoming subjects of a ruler and not the building block of democracy. And this is what we must be very concerned about. The institution of governors, I was asked in the morning of how governors are manipulating and subverting universities. It's happening all over. The governors are not only subverting universities or educational institutions, but they are subverting democratically elected governments. And if those governments are not from the ruling dispensation at the center, then they are even more of a target. And that's where selectively people who are indoctrinated in the Sangh ideology are sent to states which are ruled by non-Sangh or organizations, parties, or politics. Kerala is suffering from that. For the past two governorships, Kerala has had to battle not only the central government, but the governor of the state also as a substitute for the central government. The governor is supposed to be a constitutional position. It's now becoming very apparent that it is a party position. And these efforts to sabotage democracy are what should concern all of us a lot. And once again, I would like to say that unfortunately, even though there is concern about this, we as a people have forgotten our right to agitate, our right to protest, our right to refuse to obey rulings and methods which are against our democratic system. But we forget that if we become that way, if we become dormant like that, then it is us who will lose our ability. People of my age group remember the 18 months of emergency, when everything else seemed to be very nicely, very efficiently being run. But that was just a facade, because below that facade, slowly and steadily, a dictatorship was being formulated. People who were put in prison remember the horrors of emergency. And people who were close to those people who were imprisoned have heard the tales of the torture and harassment that was done by police officials at that time. I was a teenager, so I was not involved in that manner, but I was very close to the people who were fighting the emergency. And so I knew what was going on and the dangers that we were facing. Today, although we all of us know what is being done, we know that the government is anti-democratic. We know that this government is veering towards autocracy and dictatorship. But we are not taking responsibility to protest against it. We believe that it is the duty of the political parties to do that. Yes, political parties will do it for their own benefit, where they see their benefit. But even they will, at one point of time, weigh the scales on what is beneficial for them and what isn't. And if they can find a compromise, they will make that compromise. We have seen that happening in Kerala also, where backdoor compromises have been done for some personal reasons. This will always happen because every politician will first think of self-preservation. So it is the citizens of the nation who must stand up for their own rights. Today, one of the greatest frauds of independent India is being conducted on us. Fortunately for us, it has been brought out into the daylight, exposed in the daylight. The fraud of compromising the electoral process, the very basis of our democracy. The most important right of citizens is being denied, and that is the right of vote, a free vote. The past few days, we are hearing shocking news of how the Election Commission is no longer behaving in an impartial manner and how it is behaving like an agency of the Bharatiya Janata Party. This is one of the greatest dangers to our democracy. Even Kerala, I was in Thrissur yesterday, and so many people told me about fraudulent voting in the parliamentary election in Thrissur. In this parliamentary election, Kerala shocked the nation by electing a BJP MP from Thrissur. One never expected that the BJP would so easily open its innings in Kerala. We, in the other states of the country, believed that Kerala will never fall. It's only one seat that has gone to the BJP. But even one seat from Kerala is one too much. And that should be a matter that concerns every Malayali. Because what was concerned, where even the BJP and the Sangh were afraid to put a foot. Today I see that the Sangh has penetrated almost every level, every strata of society in Kerala. I see its manifestation on the streets of Kerala. 10 years ago, this was not the case. If this can happen in Kerala, then everything else is lost. And so it is very essential that the fight, not just against the BJP, but against the Sangh, is fought in a determined manner in Kerala. Yesterday was Independence Day. It was a day of shame for us because in the 78th year of our independence, a RSS Pracharak made a speech from the Red Fort, where only the Prime Minister of India used to constitutionally stand and speak as the Prime Minister of India, not the Prime Minister of the Congress, not the Prime Minister of the BJP, but as a Prime Minister of India. Yesterday, the RSS Pracharak stood and made a speech from the Red Fort. one of the most pious institutions of our nation, our Independence Day itself was corrupted. I don't deny the right of the RSS to express its opinion. What I object to is that for 50 years of independence, the RSS refused to observe the Independence Day, saying that that was not independence, and so they refused to accept the tricolor as the national flag, and they refused to celebrate the 15th August as the Independence Day. And yet, Narendra Modi chose to praise the RSS from a dais which is established to commemorate the freedom and the sacrifices of our freedom fighters, and sang paeans of praise for the RSS. And I will not grudge them the fact that they murdered my great-grandfather. They did. Nathuram Godse only fired the bullets. It was the vicious, poisonous ideology of the RSS that sent Nathuram Godse to Delhi to kill my great-grandfather. But that is apart. An organization that refuses even today to acknowledge the Constitution of India, a constitutional head of a government decides to sing their praise on the Independence Day, and we keep quiet. What is wrong is that we keep quiet. Today we should all have been protesting on the streets, because the greatest insult has been done to one of our most pious national institutions, the Independence Day. And we take it quietly. That is what is worrying about our democracy, that our citizens accept everything, any crime that is committed. And believe me, what the Prime Minister did yesterday was a crime against our nation. We should be fighting these trends on the streets. Unless we do that, we will not be able to save our democracies. The governors are merely slaves of their masters. They do things, they act according to orders given to them from Delhi. They have also forgotten that they are constitutional appointments, and they are behaving as if they are members of an organization carrying out the agenda of that organization. These are things that we should be bothered about. These are things that we should be fighting about. Because finally, it ends up disenfranchising us. This whole movement of SIR in Bihar is not just confined to correcting the electoral lists of Bihar. It is the sinister conspiracy to disenfranchise citizens of India. For the first time, a body like the Election Commission, which has only one brief, to conduct free and fair elections, is setting out or specifying a definition of who is the citizen of India and who is not the citizen of India. The Supreme Court, while hearing the case, in its very first hearing said that the Election Commission cannot act as an authority that decides on citizenship. It is the duty of the Home Ministry of the Union government. And yet, the Election Commission persists in acting like that. It decides what proof it will accept and what proof it will not accept, and not something that has been created by some private body. Documents that have been given by the government itself. A government agency is saying that we will not accept it as proof. They don't have that right. They are doing it because the government has told them, established a precedent. Because a segment of our citizens protested and very strongly protested all over the country against the attempt to bring in CAA and NRC, that now the Election Commission is being used to impose CAA and NRC. The next step of this SIR that is being implemented in Bihar, and it is being threatened to be implemented in Bengal, and it is being implemented in Assam, will be its implementation all over the nation. And through that ploy, they will bring in CAA, NRC, and say that now those who are not in this electoral rolls will have to prove their citizenship or get out of India. And that is the day when this democracy will be completely murdered. And that is where the fight against SIR is not a fight for the Bihar elections. It is a fight for the rights of the citizens of a democracy. It is a nationwide crusade that has to be conducted. Because every step that this government is taking, the central government is taking, is towards creating an autocratic dictatorship which is fascist in nature. Because finally, the fountain of the ideology of the BJP comes from the fascist mentality of the RSS. Because the RSS itself was created inspired by Mussolini and Hitler. Golwalkar copied most of the Nazi and the fascist documents of Mussolini and Hitler to create the founding document of RSS. This year, unfortunately, on 2nd October, it is also Dussehra, when the RSS will begin celebrating its centenary year. First time in history, people like me, a few people like me, will be commemorating the birth anniversary of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And at the same time in Nagpur, his killers, the RSS, will be celebrating their centenary on the same day. This is a symbolic event that is happening, which will illustrate the threat that the spirit of Gandhi ideology faces in the country today. And whether we believe in the individual Gandhi or not, India can only survive on the core ideology of Gandhi of truth and acceptance. And that is where the BJP government thrives on lies and deceit. And the Prime Minister is the prime example of how cleverly to lie and how cleverly to fool people. And he's not even ashamed of it. Because when his lies are caught out, he says it is a jumla, it was a joke. And we appreciate his sense of humor, unfortunately. Because the breach of promises that he has committed in the past 11 years, even one of them was enough for people to catch his hand and throw him out of power. But we have not done that. And so the greatest danger today is not the fascist ideology. The greatest danger is not the attempt to smother democracy. The greatest danger to India today is the apathy of its citizens who are willing to accept each and every injustice committed silently and not even raise their voice against it. Maybe we are waiting for a Messiah to come and save us from this situation. Please, I'm talking to a group of people who are committed to the rational ideal, please believe me that no Messiah will come. The Messiah will emerge from within us. If we stand up and take responsibility and act according to that, then a Messiah will emerge, not before that. Please think of all these things when you think about the future and about the responsibility and worry about the situation that we are facing today. Because most of it is our own doing. Politicians have very successfully convinced us that our duty is to vote once in 5 years. And once we vote, forget about the rest of it. And just go ahead and lead our lives. Voting is just one part of the duties of a citizen. Vigilance is the most important aspect of a citizen. And acting on that vigilance, being proactive in a democracy, is of vital essence of a democracy. And unless we do that, we behave in that manner, we are not going to be able to create a healthy democracy anymore or sustain a healthy democracy anymore. It might so happen, Einstein said that generations to come, it may be, will not believe that such a man as him, ever in flesh and blood, walked upon this earth. We are reaching a situation where most of us will not believe that it was our own ancestors merely 7.5 decades ago who fought the mightiest empire on earth at that time and defeated it and ensured that we became free. Because even that will, in a few decades' time, looking at what we have become in our present, even that might be considered to be a mythology. Let's not create a mythology out of the contemporary history of India. Let it be an inspiring event in not so distant a past. And let's emulate, if not Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, all our ancestors who somewhere or the other sacrificed so that we could become free. Let's not waste their obligation on us and accept slavery once again. Jai Hind.